Hello friends, and welcome to another book haul video. This is going to be both a haul and an unhaul because some books I'm keeping, some books are gifts from you guys, and some books I'm selling. So we're going to start with the books that I picked up for myself that I'm keeping. The first one is this new condition copy of Grendel by John Gardner. Now I did in a previous haul have a vintage copy of this, but once I started looking at it some more when I went to add it to my shelves, realized that it had a bunch of highlighting and pen in it. In addition to, there are some pages that are torn. So that unfortunately got recycled. But I'm super glad that I found this recently. It is a really nice trade paperback, like I said, in new condition. So I still have an opportunity to read this book, which is apparently, as you guys mentioned, the telling of Beowulf from the other side. And it's supposedly really good, according to you guys. So really happy to find this. Of course, it's a paperback, so after I read it, I will let it move on to new home. But who knows when that'll be? Because my TBR is ginormous. At this point, I know that between, there's three authors I talk about quite often on this channel. One is Mercedes Lackey, one is Brian Jakes, and then the other one is Anne McCaffrey. Both Brian Jakes and Anne McCaffrey I talk about frequently because I love the Redwall series by Brian Jakes and I love the Dragon Riders of Pern series by McCaffrey, and I've talked to how both of those are, most of the books in those series you can just pick up and read any of them. They are not necessarily sequential, they're more episodic. And I finally found some hardcovers from the earlier works of Anne McCaffrey. This is The Dragon Riders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. This is a first edition omnibus. So this has 3 books in it. It has Dragonflight, Dragon Quest, and The White Dragon, which are the first 3 books she wrote in the series. Not necessarily sequentially, they're back to back, but they're the first 3 I believe she wrote in this series. And then this is Dragon Drums by Anne McCaffrey, and the hardcover as well. So both these, very excited. I actually technically only paid $4 for these because I traded in a bunch of books I picked up at the bins to the second in Charles, and then I used the store credit I got from the $4 I spent at the bins to get these 2 books. So that was, someone actually, trust me, it was very hard. It seemed like someone had traded in their entire hardcover collection of Anne McCaffrey. And so I limited myself to these 2 because these were the hardest ones to get. But it was very hard to walk away from basically a wall of books that I want. I only took 2 though, but it took a lot of willpower there. So those are ones I'm keeping. And speaking of, Anne McCaffrey is most well known for her Dragon Riders of Pern series, her Dragon series. I have never heard of this book. It seems like it's a science fiction romance from her. It's called Restorie, and this one is not in a condition I would sell it in, but it is still in a condition I can read it in. So there are some tears in the pages, and someone has put tape on a bunch of them to maintain their integrity. So instead of selling this one, I am going to keep this one and read it for myself. And then depending on how good this book is or how much I enjoy it will be whether or not this one finds a new home or I need to find it in hardcover. But I've never heard of this book before. That guy looks like a Neanderthal. I don't know. I just know I enjoy Anne McCaffrey. I've enjoyed all of her Pern books that I've read. I haven't really read much of anything else from her, and this seemed interesting. Also, depending on how I like this, I might actually give this to my mom to read because she is normally a prodigious romance reader. So if this is what I think it is, this might be one that I hand to her afterward to read. What I'm going to do now is go into the books that I'm going to sell. So these are all books that I'm going to sell on Whatnot, which will be over here. I'm going to do it on a Friday this time instead of a Thursday, mostly because the week got away from me, and I also want to try out other times to see if there are any times that are better or worse. I know I've been doing them Thursday nights for forever, and I've tried doing them Sunday during the day, we'll try Friday, see what happens in the afternoon. Of course, as normal, everything will be starting at between $2 and $3. And also everything will have pictures and be pre-listed into the auction. So if you can't make it, you can pre-bid and just hope you win it. So first one is this really nice premium mass market, Hog's Father by Terry Pratchett. Again, this is in like excellent condition. I found a whole bunch of these like trade paperbacks that were in excellent condition. That's the Gardner, the Grendel book was one of the ones I found at the same time. And I picked up. This is The Watchers by A.M. Shine. This is kind of like a horror book. Of course, this is the show tie-in, movie tie-in. But again, in like new condition, trade paperback. That'll go up. Patricia Briggs. This is a short story collection from her. A fantasy short story collection from her. Again, another gorgeous trade paperback in excellent condition. Crier's War. This is more like YA. This is by Nina Varela. But this is more like late middle school, early high school age. But it is still fantasy, so I will put that up. And if, you know, it doesn't sell on my Whatnot auction, I'll just put it up on Pango. I'm sure it'll sell there. I also found this really neat copy of The Devil's Arithmetic by Jane Yolen. Jane Yolen is, of course, a really well-loved fantasy author, and this won the Jewish Award. This is fiction still, but it is about a young girl and her faith. So I'm actually going to put this up for sale. I know this is technically not a fantasy book, but because it's from a fantasy author, I'll put this up for sale first on Whatnot, and then if it doesn't sell on Whatnot, I'll put it up on Pango. I know I probably should just put it up on Pango, but I'll offer it to you guys first before I put it up over there. And let me show you the hardcovers. I don't have that many this time. I found both Shadowmancer and Shadowmancer Returns by G.P. Taylor. Trying to avoid the glare there. But really nice hardcovers. They do have remainder marks on the bottom, but that's really it. Both in good condition, both are first editions. So there's that. And then this is a more modern hardcover. This is Awakening in the Dream by David Wilcock. Gorgeous hardcover. Definitely would much prefer to pay $3 for this than the $30 that the original retail is for. But then that's also why I just like buying secondhand books to begin with. But this is in also, like I said, like new condition. This is not science fiction. This is just science. This is a really nice trade paperback of A Brief History in Time by Stephen Hawking. I've actually done pretty well. You guys seem to be into actual science books over on Whatnot, also from science fiction authors, but everybody knows who Stephen Hawking is, I would think. I also have a trade paperback of The Cambodian Book of the Dead by Tom Vader. Does have a little bit of tear at the bottom, but that's it. This is by Exhibit A. This is like, this is kind of fantasy, kind of mystery, kind of thriller. I don't really know where to categorize this, but it's interesting. So we'll see what happens with it. We have Shadow March by Tad Williams. Again, a thick boy, and it's really rare to find these thick boy mass market secondhand that are in this good a shape. But this is definitely a good condition DAW, which is nice. Does have one dog ear though. They got to page 75 before they let it move on to a home, before they gave up. I always find that funny when I find dog ears in the mass markets of like where people just gave up reading. It's like, you know what? It's a nice little piece of book history there. This is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Of course, finding a lot more Neil Gaiman out in the wild now. due to what's come out recently. Show's still super popular. Of course, it has the Best Doctor as a starring role with Crowley, but you know, people are trying to separate the art from the artist with this one just because of the fact half of it is also Terry Pratchett. So this is available if you were interested in reading it. David and Lee Eddings, another problematic author. Bulgar the Sorcerer. Got some spine creasing there. Fantasy book from them. The next one is a copy of Castle in the Air by Diana Wynne Jones, who I now know not as just the cat author, but is also the author for Howl's Moving Castle. This is technically the sequel for Howl's Moving Castle. I don't know why it's put as a sequel to Howl's Moving Castle, because it's not. I guess it's set technically in the same world, but in a different location. But it doesn't have the same characters, so I don't know how it's a sequel. It's not the same to me. But I do have a paperback copy of this, so if you're interested, here it is. And John Marco, this is Jackal of Nar. This is the first book in Tyrants and Kings, a high fantasy novel by them. Nice little Bantam mass market. Again, good shape. If you could see it instead of my face. Here we go. Katya Ryman, A Tremor in the Bitter Earth. This is the second book of the Telmarian Chronicles. Never heard anybody talk about this. But I found a fantasy book, so of course I'm going to pick it up to see if I can find it a new home. And then we have Trigger and Friends by James H. Schmitz. This is obviously a Baen book, because you can tell Baen books from a mile away. But those are all the books that I'm going to hopefully find a new home for over on Whatnot. And again, if I don't find it a new home on Whatnot, I will hopefully find a new home for it on Pango. But I've also been sent books as well. I actually finally got around to doing my monthly trip to my P.O. box. So we're going to open some presents now. So hopefully you guys are in for that. If not, have a good day. The first package is actually from Kevin, Vintage Kevin over on Whatnot. He's a frequent buyer of books from me, not only in my eBay store, but also over on Whatnot. So Kevin, thank you. And I think I know what he sent me, and it looks like I am correct. It comes with a postcard, Connoisseur's Science Fiction. I love that. Kevin's like, thank you for reviewing this book on YouTube. That prompted me to purchase it from you. I enjoyed it very much. I think you are a little reluctant to let this go. I wanted to send it back to you so you can have it on your own shelf. And I was a little reluctant to let it go, but I already put it up for sale and I wanted to read it before it sold. And then when I put a review out, of course it sold to one of you guys. And Kevin, I really appreciate you making it so I can't feel guilty about keeping it now. Because it is a hardcover edition of Skellig. I was very surprised by this book when I reviewed it. I will link that up above. It is, you know, a middle school aged book, but it had a lot of heart to it. And yeah, I think it's very well written. Definitely very English and very much from the 90s. But it's also signed. So the fact that I get to keep a signed hardcover American edition of this piece of British children's literature means a lot, Kevin. So I thank you. I'm trying not to cry. But that will definitely now be added to my shelf and will stay there forever. It's not going to stay like this. I'm going to actually put it on the shelf, but thank you, Kevin. The next one is from Michael. Michael sends me a lot of interesting things in the mail, and this looks like it's a book, so I am interested to see what it is. Bookbinding. Interesting. Oh, and I also get a postcard. That's exciting. Mount Ansel Adams. Hope you feel better. Aw. And he included his contact information in case I needed to reach out. I know that I have been on and off suffering with depression, so I think that is his way to be like, hey, if you need a friend, here you go. So Michael, thank you. That's very sweet. And here's another set of postcards. They're Harley Davidson. Woo! Harley Davidson postcards. I don't have a Harley. I did at one point have a Kawasaki motorcycle that I loved. but it died and I have not replaced it. I do have a motorcycle's license. That was my 21st birthday gift to myself, was to learn to ride and to get a motorcycle. This is nice. This is a really nice piece of ephemera. Harley Davidson Motorcycle Museum. I actually know someone who would probably actually really like that. Actually, a couple who would probably really like that. They own a pair of Harleys. And I'd go to charity dinners that they hold, and they're absolutely lovely. This is a book on bookbinding, of how to do bookbinding. I'm guessing it's because he knows that I do try to repair books. So thank you, Michael. This is definitely something I will hopefully get around to reading and learning better to how to preserve the books that I find, or to repair books that are damaged that I come across, because I do unfortunately come across a lot of them that make me very sad. So that will be a useful resource. And then I have a box that is much too big. Also, if you ever send me something that comes with a letter, I do actually have a binder, a scrapbook that I keep everything in. I do need to get some more photo corners off of Amazon, so I can put like postcards and stuff, so I can like keep the pretty part out, but still be able to take them out of the scrapbook if I read them, because when I feel down, I do take them out and read them sometimes to remind me that people care about me besides just my immediate friends and family. It does help. It does help. Also makes it so I have a good cry, which is very cathartic. We're gonna look at books more now. Okay, so this is a giant box of books from Rob. And he messaged me on Instagram and was like, hey, I sent you a box of books that I think would do well in Pango. So he sent me a box of books to resell. He's like, but I'm also sure you will probably keep some of them, so enjoy. And Rob, of course, is a big supporter of me in all of my endeavors, which is very sweet. So thank you, Rob. I have what looks like manga. Okay, so this is a manga trilogy called Futari Escape, and it's 1, 2, and 3, and these are all in new condition. Wait, hold on. There's the 4th one. So here's four books from the same series. That's very cute. These are teens, so it's 13 plus. These are all brand new. Dude, where did you get these from? You don't have to tell me, but like, these are in new condition. Okay, The Woman in the Purple Skirt, a novel by Natsuko Imamura. This is a chicklet book, it looks like. Nice little tiny mass market size hardcover, which I love. Simple little chicklet novella. Okay, this is a big box, but like the whole reason I'm not picking it up is because the box is like this big. So bear with me. We have, Summer Ghost, the complete manga collection. What do you mean the complete manga collection? I guess this was a limited series. So another piece of manga. Put that over there. 19 Claws and a Blackbird. Stories by Augustine Basterisia, author of Tender as the Flesh. Interesting. And it's a French flap book. Y'all know how I love it. Doesn't have deckled edges though, but it does have French flaps. You can't see what I'm looking at because I still haven't shown it to you. We got some Adrian Tatskovsky. Oh shoot, we have, it looks like the whole trilogy. Are you just clearing off shelves, dude? I think this is the whole trilogy. This is the whole trilogy. Is this the trilogy you're talking about you think I'm gonna keep? So we have, I don't know which one is first. I know this is a complete trilogy. Okay, so Children of Time. Here it is. So Children of Time, Children of Ruin, and Children of Memory. So this is the full trilogy. I'm guessing this is what he said I'm going to keep. I have not heard of this. Should I keep this? Should I read this? It's obviously science fiction. It's a dying Earth trying to find a new home. Interesting. Okay, I will set that aside and look that up some more to see if that's something that I need to hold on to. A Psalm for the Wild Built, a monk and robot book. Interesting. Ooh, this has a split. Hugo award-winning Becker Chambers gives us hope for the future in her delightful new series. So, okay. This is giving me Murderbot vibes for some reason, where it's just like a tight little novella. I wonder if this is the first book. It's not, I'm guessing it's not a first book. I like how I said something about Murderbot and it has a excerpt from Marcia Wells there. I wonder if this one if this is an episodic one. Is this a Wayfarers? Okay, I also want to look this up. Okay, basically you've given me a box of homework because now I have to look everything up to see what's what. We got Doors of Sleep by Tim Pratt. Really nice trade paperback. The Witch and the Night Will Survive. Ooh, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful manga. Basically, you're trying to give me... Oh, I don't think you understand how much of a weeb I am. Giving me all this manga. I don't think you understand how much I'm going to be wanting to keep that. The earth is broken beyond repair. The planet is our last hope. This looks like self-published. Or independently published. This is definitely independently published because it has content warning on it. Mild body horror, psychological horror, explicit sex scenes, discussion and depiction of mental illness. Yeah, this is definitely self-published. Swallowed, I'm guessing is what that's supposed to be, but that's really hard to read. What is this one? Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Ooh, this is a beautiful copy. I think this is the prettiest copy of The Heart of Darkness I have ever seen. And that's not just because it has deckled edges and French flaps. This is actually gorgeous. This is literally the nicest copy of Heart of Darkness I have ever seen in my life. I hated this book. I haven't read it as an adult, but when I had to read this as like a 14-year-old, I hated reading this book. I don't remember it other than the visceral experience of, despite the fact it is a tiny book, I loathed the whole time reading it. I couldn't get into it. I didn't like it. Maybe my mind will be changed as an adult. I just remember not liking that book. Leave the World Behind, a novel by Ruman Alam, author of Rich and Pretty. A Barnes & Noble Book Club edition. Nice little hardcover. So you gave me a bunch of homework because now I'm going to have to figure out what of everything you sent me I'm going to keep and what I'm going to let move on to a new home. The Miracle of the Nehemiah General Store. Oh, I'm definitely going to read this. Oh, I'm totally reading this. This I'm keeping. This I'm keeping to read. This looks like Japanese YA. Yeah, I'm going to keep that one for sure. That one I'm keeping. That one for sure I'm keeping. We have Ghostly Things. The manga here is literally like brand new. It feels brand new. Agent 1, Demi-Human. Again, like brand new manga. I see Martha Wells. I see the Martha Wells trilogy in hardcover. You have got to be kidding me. This is, I think, the one he thought I was going to keep. Wow, dude. Wow. Yes, I'm keeping this for sure. The Wizard Hunters by Martha Wells. This is her fantasy series, her fantasy trilogy. This is book 2, The Ships of Air. And book 3, The Gate of Gods. Okay, I now know exactly which one you thought I was going to keep. All right, so it's not the Adrienne Tchaikovsky. It is the Martha Wells you thought I was going to keep. I got it now. I picked up what you put down, and you are correct, but I'm also keeping the Kago book as well. Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dewar, Killing Patton. Well, I will try selling this on Pango. This is not something that I would pick up. I don't really like Bill O'Reilly's writing style at all. I know he's considered a historian, but he kind of writes with a little bit of a bias. But I will see how it does on Pango for sure. And then we have a whole bunch of more manga. Very nice. Monster Volume 1. I might end up reading all of this manga because manga is super fast for me to read before I let it move on to a new home. The God's Lie. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, this feels interesting in the hand. And then we have Moriko-chan, 1 through 4. 1 through 4. Interesting. And then The Ghost in the Shell. This is the human algorithm. That's insane. What an insane collection of books you have sent me. So, like, as far as manga goes, I only have one complete series of manga, and it is a very problematic series. It's called Hot Gimmick. It's a 12-volume manga limited series, and if you know, you know. But again, I had a lot of angst as a teenager. So there's that. And the only other manga series I would consider wanting to have the entirety of and keep is Ouran Host Club, because I also really liked that series. This was insane. All right, so again, Friday, I have a Whatnot show. You saw the little bit I'm keeping, including the 4 books I'm definitely keeping that Rob sent me, the beautiful gift that both Michael and Kevin sent me. Thank you both for that. So now I have a little bit of work to do, including editing this video. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this was interesting, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye. Bye.